Absolute Wonder Woman issue 19. Kelly Thompson writing with Hayden Sherman on the art. Continuing this this arc with Zatanna and, well, this is more Giovanni Zatara. This issue, who also is actually not a villain. Really, nope. He's kind of trapped inside the construct of the magic and the flaming skeleton and all that.
Of the fire, yeah. And the Troika being this lasso of crossroads, I thought I really like what Sherman and Kelly Thompson did to show that here. Like the way that the lasso splits up all the different panels. And it really is going to help me be reminded what the Troika means, right? Because she has all these other ones. So yeah, all of that playing out was cool.
As she says, it shows you your truth. So if his truth is that he's actually trapped inside here and that he's not really this flaming monster of a villain, then that makes sense to kind of visualize that. So, yeah. Also, there's an interesting little thing they throw in here at the start of the issue. A little seed of doubts, maybe. I mean, but doubt for Diana, but like doubts maybe not quite the right word for it. But this idea that she'll never be able to know for sure. Well, in theory, right? I actually think she'll overcome this, and she will know for sure. But the whole idea that she will never know for sure if people love her because they love her, or because there's a little bit of magic in there that's, guiding them to love her.
Because of Aphrodite. Because we find out that all of the lady gods have bestowed Diana with certain abilities. All right, Athena, Artemis, Hera, and Aphrodite. So all of these ones giving little pieces. And with Aphrodite's, it's like you just look at Aphrodite because she's a goddess of love, and you feel that innate love, right? And she's talking to Cersei, and she's, under her veil, there's tears coming down, and she's like, I feel bad for what we've done to her because she's never going to know, because of this gift. And I was like, wow, that is an interesting way to put that out, right? As like people are just drawn to Diana because of this ability. But I feel with Diana and what she's done on the Wild Isle, Thompson has set up that might just be who Diana is, right? God powers and no God powers. I feel like people might just be drawn to her because of her amount of compassion and care. Like all those little creatures on the Wild Island finding their way to her, but to put that doubt in our heads from Aphrodite herself, I thought was a pretty cool storytelling piece.
I mean, I think it's also pretty notable that this flashback very conveniently doesn't show Diana, so we have no idea what age she was when this gift was bestowed to her. Like, is this before all those sequences where she encouraged the animals and all that? Like, you could look at it as that it gives her like a little head start with people, like a little bit to like get her foot in the door, but then her character kind of sees it through to the natural conclusion. Yeah. But at the very least, though, it is interesting that the Aphrodite kind of, like, I can't come back because I didn't really realize it when I gave her this, but because I've given her this and now I'm visiting, I actually feel my power working on me. Like, it's actually happening to me, and I can't be around it. That's like the main reason why she's leaving and saying she can't visit anymore. So it's all very kind of says like this burden, even though it sounds like a very nice thing. Everyone will love you, but it's like you can never be sure if it's just because of this magic like center you've got.
And if you're getting into what is the truth, right? And that's the crux of Diana. What is the truth? Is it that because of the God power, or is it because of her? And again, it casts that doubt on everything. So I thought it was really good the way that they've chosen to show Aphrodite behind the veil. So we never see what's underneath this, right? So she's this like celestial being, kind of like we had seen with Athena, but she has this aura, and under the aura is like a sheet that covers, her face.
Glowing eyes.
That's when you see the tears coming down from them. See the eyes going from behind it, but smart way, because when you're trying to draw what beauty is, right, that's different to everybody. So
yeah. Also, I slightly misspoke. At the very end of this scene, you do get one panel of Diana sleeping, but she is young. She is pretty young in that panel, and she's already sleeping with a bunch of creatures, or unless they're supposed to be teddy bears or whatever, but I don't think so. It's hard to tell. There's like a little like pig thing lying next to her. But I It does put in your mind though, like if anything, that just adds to this idea of like, oh yeah, this thing where all the creatures are drawn to her. Like, is this already in effect? Because she said she's already given her this ability, so this is already taking effect, kind of thing. So it's very interesting, and it's like, you know, it kind of goes along with the whole with great power comes great responsibility. This idea of, you know, to if everyone's going to like trust her with this like almost like instinctual love because that she has that innately inside her, then she kind of has to do the right thing with that as opposed to exploit it or abuse it. Not that I think she would, but it adds this kind of level of like, she's not just entirely earning it on her merit, so she has to make sure she's doing the right thing with it to sort of justify why she has it in the first place. And that's kind of
you summed it up with the great power, great responsibility, because she could use this to, you know, to lead people astray. Right, but no, it's her character that stops her from doing that.
Yeah. So back to present day, the other, you know, good characters that are fleeing all the battle stuff in the city, Steve, Etta, and so on, end up running into basically like there's like a bunch of women doing like a seance type thing, like a coven trying to protect the people in the city with magic.
Yeah.
It's
Etta's sister's shop, right? That's her apothecary.
Right,
yeah. And yeah, they're all doing like a protection spell to, or like a sacrifice of what to Hecate, you know, who's also goddess of crossroads, crossroads, death, and magic. And so I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of summing up all of that we've learned about Diana at this point, you know, and they got that symbol that she had, you know, shown Batman or Hecate, you know, so that comes back around here. And the thing that gets me is they bust in and they have that the symbol to Hecate drawn on the floor and they're all around it. And Steve joins in on the circle.
Well, he doesn't just join in. There's one of the women in the circle starts breaking down. She's clearly like, you know, she's crying her eyes out. Maybe she's cold as well because he takes his jacket off and puts it around her, and then he kind of takes her place in the circle to fill in for her. So it's kind of this moment of him, you know, not just joining in, but you know, he's helping out and he's filling in for someone. And then like, you know, I think it's Etta who says, "Oh, everyone's full of surprises." That he's surprised that he even is able to understand what he's doing here. So it already shows maybe the influence that Diana's had on him, if nothing else.
Yeah.
And then we get back to the fight. We got Diana fighting Zatara, lots of fire, all this stuff, and that's when she whips out the lasso. I mean, I think the last page of the last issue was her pulling it out, but this is her actually using it. And like you said, we get these like so the lasso is presented in these blue, you know, light lines, right? So once she uses it and we go inside the crossroads, if you will, inside Zatara, we get kind of all of the backgrounds fade away and it's just like a sort of darkish blue with the light blue lasso kind of making these lines on top of it. It really does feel like it's all coming from the lasso in a way. So the art does a good job with the colors there to really sell that idea.
Yeah. And everything's muted except for the lasso. The lasso's vibrant.
Yep.
You know, and you can kind of follow it through the story, which is nice. But it shows Zatara his crossroads, and that's his wife, and then a young version of Zatanna, right? And it's like, oh, it wants me to choose between my wife and child. And I believe that's supposed to be Hecate, right? Given form here. It says, no, you already chose long ago. And I was like, oh, what is going on with Zatara? Like, what's the backstory here? So again, you know, Thompson seeding these things out.
Yeah, and then the fire sort of starts to like come around them, and this orange really pops against all this just really pale blue that's otherwise on the page. But this is when Zatanna pops through like a little portal and like says, "Hey, Dad, I'm here to help you. Take my hand," and he does, and she's able to grab him and pull him out. And because he's also like say, "Hey, how do I know if this is real?" And she's like, "This isn't a trick. It's not magic. I'd be saying things backwards. Take my hand." I
did love that.
Yeah, so she grabs his hand, pulls him out into the world, but Diana gets left inside. Is the thing. She ends up being trapped in there. So that becomes like this issue they have to deal with as well. We see her kind of like sort of almost like sitting there in a trance with like almost like the lasso is made like an entity, like sort of sitting there next to her. It's like a really creepy visual, actually. And Giganta's just sort of standing there looking down at her, being like, she's, like playing with her rope, I guess. I don't know what's happening.
Yeah. Because she goes, I'm the only part of your team left. And then they get there, and she's catatonic. She's like cocooned, and he goes, "That sounds perfect." Well, she's the one holding the rope, so you're just like, what were they going to do to her? Were they going to try to pick her up? Or like, how do you remove Diana from this? You just leave her alone? So I do like the hesitance from Giganta.
Yeah, Giganta's talking to Kale, and Kale's like, telling her to do this, do that, blah, blah. And what actually happens, though, is that, Kale's looking through the cameras and the streets and all that, and she sees Barbara Ann, and she's like, oh, we can use her. Grab her and don't hurt her. We need her alive. Yeah. So Giganta kidnaps Barbara Ann. So this might be the path that leads to Barbara Ann as Cheetah.
I'm so nervous for her. Because they said, I looked at her files. That's Dr. Barbara Ann Minerva. And we're like, oh, okay, so does this have to do with the fish people? Right? Because that's what her field of study was. And that fish queen, had left in the last issue when Diana had freed them. So I was like, oh man. And then there's also the cheetah stuff. We already have a cheetah down. So I was like, is this Urzgatega now? Is that going to be a thing? But yeah, I got super worried when Giganta picked her up. I was like, oh no.
Yeah, she tries biting Giganta, and Giganta just kind of laughs it off and walks away with her. It's a fun moment. It's like you say, we don't know exactly like what the rules are going to be here for her becoming Cheetah, but it's almost guaranteed that it's happening, unless Kelly Thompson really wants to pull a wild twist and go in a very different direction.
A complete, curveball.
But given that Barbara Ann sort of had that moment last issue or 2 issues ago where she looked at the current Cheetah and kind of had a moment, it kind of feels like, oh, we're foreshadowing it, we're setting up for it.
Yeah.
So we'll see where that goes. So Zatanna and Zatara have a hugging embrace and all the rest of it. But they see that Wonder Woman is now sort of lying there, kind of almost in like a seizure-like trance with the lasso, the Trioka, and it's like, shit, we have to help her. How do we help her? We have to do something. And ultimately, it's like, oh, I was able to get my dad out because he cares about me. I'm someone who's close to him. I'm someone that he feels an attachment to. And, while I've kind of become an ally, it's only just kind of recently, I'm not exactly that close to Diana. I'm going to have to try and be someone that she cares about. And she picks up the tiara, or Zatara does actually, and hands it to her. Yep. And it's like, hey, maybe you can draw something from this. Like, someone gave her this. So this is from Cersei, her mother. All right. So Zatanna basically casts a spell using the tiara to appear as Cersei and goes into the Trioka crossroads. As Zatara just casually holds back Giganta on his own, which was a fun little sequence, honestly, actually.
And the way that Sherman draws this with the, there's not really a straight angle, right? So when it goes from Zatanna as Cersei with Diana at the top down to, Zatara doing, he's saying a little shove backwards to Giganta. Normally I would feel like you'd want those moments to be flipped, right? You want the big actiony thing, but they're so confident in the storytelling that Sherman puts it at the bottom panels, but it still feels big with, with the scale that we see, Zatanna or Zatara pushing Giganta down. It's just in this little panel here, but it feels so big. So yeah, again, masterclass in storytelling.
I mean, I think the thing for me is that it's particularly the way this page is laid out, where you've got this big circular panel at the top, and then you've got kind of this, I don't even know what you'd call it, but like a little curved rectangle that then kind of leads into kind of a almost like CinemaScope style panorama shot of it going wider at the sides. Yeah. The way that sort of flows, it kind of feels like the image is getting wider, almost like the camera's pulling back. That's the kind of feel that it gives. And it's all about showing the fact that in the foreground we have Diana and Zatanna, and in the background we have Giganta storming towards Zatara, who's ready to sort of stand his ground. And then at the bottom you've got the little shove, which it feels so confident. It feels like he's so in tune with his magic, which he should be because he's experienced. He's even more experienced as Zatanna is. It makes sense. It just all works. So yeah, we get like, you know, Cersei, quote unquote, you know, popping through a little portal inside Zatanna's head, Crossroads, and be like, hey, you know, Diana, take my hand. So again, she pulls her out, and then obviously very quickly reveals who she actually is and says, hey, I had to, you know, get you out of there, blah blah blah. So yeah, it's a very nice enough moment between them. Kale is pissed. They've got Giganta back in a cell, and she's like smashing on it, and Kale's just yelling at all of her employees, just absolutely livid at how everything's gone. She's like, where's Dr. Poison? Oh, we lost contact when she was thrown off the planet. We don't know where she is.
She was kicked into space. She's still up there, maybe. Also, when Zatara sends Giganta back, he doesn't shrink her down. So when she gets put into her cell, she's like squishing up against it. Yeah. You know, and then just Kale yelling, you know, what the F? I hate magic. Just like, that's not the first time we've heard her say that. So to make that be like this reoccurring, you know, sentence, I think is hilarious.
Yeah. No, I like that. And then the big lead up to the cliffhanger of the last couple of pages is a good 2-page layout where effectively Kale sends in the Iron Maiden, whatever it is, because she's like, did I stutter? Send it in. So we get this build up as it cuts between Zatara talking to Diana and Zatanna as this big metal ball is like, you know, being launched from Kale's like secret headquarters, and it's going through the sea, it ends up in the street, it's coming down the rubble. And then the final page, it kind of opens up with all of its legs, and it's basically just a big robot spider, effectively.
Yep.
But it's coming for Zatara, and Diana's like, go protect your father. I'll take on the big robot spider. So that's your cliffhanger for the end of the issue.
Yeah. Diana's like, this is my thing. Kaijus I have a big sword. I got a skeleton horse. Also, when they said call him the Iron Maiden, I couldn't not hear Run for the Hills. You know? So, you know, I was wishing Connor was reading this, you know, right now with us. So I know he'd get a big pop out of that. But yeah, when this thing started coming down, I'm like, what the hell is this? And then as it unravels, and I'm like, oh, big metal spider. Great.
Well, it's so funny, but I actually thought it was slightly more interesting as a big ball, because I thought, oh, this is wild. Just a big metal ball's just coming flying for Zatara, like it's, you know, tuned to his DNA or whatever.
Because, like, I know what an Iron Maiden is, and I know what it normally looks like. And when Zatara's like, oh, it's worse than a prison, it's torture. It's like, yeah, no, it's the spiky casket thing.
Well,
and then
I'm assuming this thing, if it gets him, will kind of take him inside and then shut, and it'll be like an Iron Maiden. But obviously, it's got a lot of other functions as well.
a lot of other doodads. But yeah, so yeah, when I saw this big alien metal spider type thing, I was like, yeah, that's cool. But yeah, the ball as it was rolling down was pretty cool. So I thought that was pretty metal.
Yeah, I like the build. I like the way it kind of like every other panel on that second last page, it was the 2-page layout. Every other panel was just this ball going through locations to get to that street, and it felt like it was getting closer and closer. Just good sequencing. The book's very good at doing that. You know, and it has been throughout the entire run.
And the way too that Sherman lays it out, where you're following it as it comes, right? So you follow it like a path. So when you read it from left to right, and then right to left, and then back to left to right. I thought that's, again, just cinematic style storytelling.
And just simple stuff, like in the very first page, or not the first page, it's after the Whale Isle stuff, right? When we get to the present day stuff, the first page of that, like the way it shows, it gives you this sense of the height of the buildings by having like Steve and Etta and like carrying these kids, and it's like this sort of vertical panel that's like getting a little bit wider at the bottom, and at the very bottom of the panel it actually goes beyond the borders of the panel for the rubble on the ground, so it kind of almost looks like a building in and of itself, so it really sells the height, but it's also put over the top of what feels like a wide panel of the cityscape behind it, so it feels it's kind of like that same way where if you have like an image split into 3 and then you have the middle one kind of overlap the other two, it almost looks 3D. It kind of has that effect almost. And sells the height of like the city around them and the sense of destruction around them.
Yeah, Sherman really is great with a sense of spacing and scale to tell this story like this. Like you said, he's almost using like optical effects, like forced perspective, you know, to in his drawings to make all this happen. And that's why he's one of my favorite. because he did this type of stuff in Dark Patterns as well during the Scarface story, where he made that building feel all encompassing, you know, with little tricks like this. So it's good to see that here. And then just like you'd said on that one page, that makes it feel cinematic with Giganta and Zatara and all that. It feels like I'm watching a moving image at times.
Yeah, that also feels nice from a narrative point of view, because Zatara has been this villain and now he's free. It's like it's like the writing's immediately giving him a chance to show that he is like a hero. He's kind of like making himself useful and like, hey, he's good. It's good that we freed him. He's an ally. He's someone who can help.
Well, and it was set up as well that he was being, you know, like used by Kale and not given proper stuff, right? So when he sees Zatanna and Zatanna pulls him out of his own personal hell, right? Like Kale can't use him anymore because he is good, right? Like he's not outward, you know, just working with her. So I did like that he immediately was just like, oh no, I'm gonna help my daughter.
Yeah. But yeah, well, Absolute Wonder Woman, very good as per usual. What are you giving it, Matt?
Maybe there's a straight 9.
I'm going to go 8.5. Very good. I guess I like the stuff with Cersei at the start, and then Aphrodite I liked, and what that sort of casts over everything, and I like all the cinematic action and how it's presented. The Crossroads stuff is fine, but it did mean that the entire issue felt like we were still in the middle of the same fight from the last issue, so there's just kind of maybe a sense of progression that I would have enjoyed to kind of maybe move on a little bit, but it's a very minor thing. So this is why I'm not giving it a 9.